أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم وفقنا وسائر المشتغلين للعلم والعمل الصالح بحق محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, I sought after humility and did not find it other than through accepting the truth. Accept the truth. For accepting the truth distances one from arrogance. قال الإمام علي عليه السلام طلبت الخضوع فما وجدت إلا بقبول الحق. اقبلوا الحق فإن قبول الحق يبعد من الكبر. Issue number 1005. With Islamic laws, we reach to issue number 1005. One must correctly recite qira'ah of the prayer. If someone cannot in any way recite the whole of Surah Al-Hamd correctly, yes, he must recite it in the way he can, provided that the amount he recites correctly is significant. The verdict here is to tell us we are as Musallin, as Muslim, as adult, I must recite Surah Al-Hamd in a correct way, in a proper Arabic, as far as I can. And there are some people whom they cannot recite it in a correct way because of their tongue is not pronouncing the letters correctly, or maybe they used on the incorrect reading or incorrect pronunciation because of their slang or because of their tongue get used of that, or sometimes people whom they are not Arabic. First of all, they should learn, they should try to pronounce it in a correct Arabic, especially Surah Al-Hamd, Surah Al-Fatiha. He should pronounce it correctly. This is a verdict. He tries, let's say this person, he tries, but he doesn't manage in reciting Surah Al-Hamd in a correct way. He recites, he trains. Look, it is not just like say immediately, I do not know how to recite Surah Al-Hamd. No, he should train himself on reciting Surah Al-Hamd. In this case, he should read and find out that the amount of Surah Al-Hamd is correctly. He must recite it in the way he can, provided that the amount he recites correctly is significant. However, if that amount is significant, then based on obligatory precaution, he must add it in amount of the Quran that he can recite correctly. If he cannot do this, he must add it to it tasbih. He must add it to it what? Tasbih. example like to say Subhanallah, Subhanallah. This person, as we said, if he can recite Surah Al-Hamd, he should recite Surah Al-Hamd in a proper Arabic. If he cannot, he should train and pronounce it correctly. If he cannot, in this case, he can add it to the amount that he cannot recite in a proper Arabic. He can add from the other verses of Quran some verses which are equal to the verses that he cannot pronounce it in a proper Arabic. For example, 2 verses, 3 verses, or few words. He should bring the words from the Quran and add it to the Surah Al-Fatiha, the same amount. If he cannot, neither he cannot protect it, neither he cannot pronounce it in a proper Arabic, or he cannot bring the same number of words or verses from the Quran in a correct word, here he can add what? He can add tasbih, subhanallah. However, if someone cannot recite the other surah, if someone cannot recite the other surah correctly at all, the other surah means not Surah Al-Fatiha, but the other surah, just like Inna Anzalna, Surah Al-Ikhlas. He cannot recite it correctly at all. It is not necessary for him to recite something else in its place. So the hukum of the other surah, it is not the same the hukum of Surah Al-Hamd or Al-Fatiha. Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Fatiha, whenever you cannot recite the verses of the some of the verses, you have to learn, you have to train. If you cannot, you can bring the same word, the same number of verses and from the Quran, from the other verses of Quran, and replace it of these verses whom you cannot recite it in a proper Arabic. Even that is not available, or you cannot, in this case, or here you can say tasbih, subhanallah. You can say tasbih, subhanallah, instead of what? Instead of the incorrect verse of Surah Al-Hamd. While in the other surah, like Surah Inna Anzalna, Surah Inna A'tainaka Al-Kawthar, or Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, if he cannot pronounce it, or he cannot pronounce it correctly, in this case it is not necessary for him to recite something else in its place. In all the above cases, the recommended precaution is that such a person should perform prayers in congregation. Before I go to explain the last part of this issue, here this person, if he cannot pronounce the last part or some parts of Inna Anzalna, now what shall he do? Shall he replace them with other verses from the Holy Quran? No, there is no need. Shall he replace it from tasbih? No, it is not necessary. So what he is doing, what he is going to do, that's it. He will recite what he can recite in Arabic. No more, no less. I'm talking about the other surah, not Surah Al-Fatiha, the other surah. Okay. How about that this person, if he prays in congregation, yes, it is recommended that he performs his salah in congregation prayers. Why? Because the Imam himself will take the role of reciting the Surah Al-Fatiha and the other surah instead of the Ma'mum. So, as I recommended for this Musalli is to pray his Salah in congregation. Is this understood, inshallah? Issue number 1006. One who does not know Surah Al-Hamd. One who does not know Surah Al-Hamd. Well, that means he does not know how to recite it in a correct Arabic. Must try to perform his duty, whether that he must try to perform his duty, try to recite it in a correct Arabic. Whether that be by learning it. What is his duty here? To recite Surah Al-Hamd correctly. His duty, his obligatory duty is to recite Surah Al-Hamd correctly. Whether that by learning it is either to learn how to recite Surah Al-Hamd or by including it in himself. Or by inculcating it in himself. Or by what? By reciting it in himself. Or by following in congregational prayers. Follow. Not to, for example, just nowadays, when they show the congregational prayer on TV, what he is going to do? He is going to follow them. What they are reciting, he is going to recite the same. Mutaba'a. Follow by following in congregational prayers, or by repeating the prayer whenever he doubts the correctness of his recitation, or by repeating the prayer whenever he doubts the correctness of his recitation. Look how many solutions we have. One who does not know Surah Al-Hamd. This is specifically with reciting Surah Al-Hamd, not the other surah. Well, who cannot or who does not know Surah Al-Hamd well, must try to perform his try. Whether that try by learning it, or inculcating it in himself too, or by following in congregational prayers, follow it, or by, this is number 4, or by repeating the prayer whenever he doubts the correctness of his recitation. Repeating the prayer whenever he doubts the correctness of his recitation. If time is short, now if those solutions, if he has more time. Now, if he is in a shortage of time, if time is short and he performs the prayer as stated in the previous ruling, his prayer is valid. What does it mean? His prayer in short and he cannot perform part of Surah Al-Fatiha in a correct way or in a proper Arabic, he replaces these words with what? With some verses or some words from Quran correctly, or Subhanallah, because he does not have time. His salah will be what? His salah will be valid. His salah will be valid. However, if he has been negligent in learning, if it is possible, that means it is possible to learn, but he is negligent, muqassir, he must, in order to escape punishment, perform his prayers in congregation. Look, if he has been negligent in learning, and if it is possible, he must, if it is possible. Look, this must, if it is possible, in order to escape punishment, perform his prayers in congregation. That means if he is negligent in learning the other parts of Surah Al-Fatiha, of Surah Al-Hamd. In this case, as this must, it is as if it is possible to attain what, or to join what? Congregation prayers, in order to escape from what? From punishment. Yes, Sheikh Ahmed.
By repeating the prayer whenever he doubts. So this is a hukum.
Mm-hmm.
And as I understood, it is an obligatory precaution.
Mm-hmm.
He must repeat the prayer.
Yes.
Even though he replaces the words that he cannot utter correctly with the tasbih or with some words from the Holy Quran.
No, this does not belong to this person. This person, he cannot learn. He cannot replace, in other words, he cannot say Subhanallah. Yeah.
So this without replacement.
No, without replacement.
Okay, thank you very much.
Look, one who does not know Surah Al-Hamd well must try to perform his duty. Whether that to perform his duty by learning Surah Al-Hamd, or by inculcating it in himself, or by following in congregation prayers, or by repeating the prayer whenever he doubts the correctness of his recitation. This is if he has time. If time is short and he performs the prayer as stated in the previous ruling, his prayer يعني هو اتبع الخطوات الستبس in the previous ruling. صلاته صحيحة مع اتباعها. However, if he has been negligent, هنا شنو معنات negligent؟ مقصر. هنا هو مقصر، عنده وقت مقصر. If he has been negligent in learning، هو مقصر بالتعليم، كان لو هو متعلم كان يعني حاله أفضل، بس هو ما تعلم. And if it is possible وممكن، he must, in order to escape. هو مقصر بالتعليم، هو مقصر بالتعليم، كان المفروض يتعلم، بس هو ما تعلم. بهالحالة يقول شو اسوي الآن؟ نقول له إذا تريد تشرد من العقوبة احضر صلاة الجماعة، لأنه انتهزنا، أنت مقصر. Yes, however, if he has been negligent in learning, and if it is possible, he must, in order to escape punishment, performs his prayer in congregation. Issue number 1007. Based on obligatory precaution, taking wages for teaching obligatory acts of the prayer is unlawful. However, taking wages for teaching recommended acts of the prayer is permitted. If somebody here asks me to teach him how to pray, only the obligatory acts of prayer, and then he offers money for me as a wage, as a fare, it is not allowed for me to take what? It is not allowed for me to take money instead of what? Instead of teaching salah. But if he said, teach me the recommended acts in salah, the recommended acts in salah, in this case, may I have the wages for the recommended acts? Yes, I can take. It is permissible for me to take wages for teaching the recommended acts in salah. Issue number 1008. If a person intentionally or on account of culpable ignorance. هنا هذا الشخص either intentionally متعمد or according or on account of due to culpable ignorance, الجهل التقصيري، يعني هذا جاهل مقصر، هو جاهل مقصر، does not recite one of the words of Surah Al-Hamd. He does not recite one of the verse of Surah Al-Hamd. Or the other surah, or in a place of one of the letters, he utters another letter. For example, instead of dhad, he says the or ze. Instead of dhad, he says the or ze. Or he does not correctly observe the Fatha, or he does not correctly observe the Fatha and Kasra of words, such that his recitation is considered wrong. Or he does not pronounce with tashahhud, with shadda when he is supposed to. Then in these cases his prayer is invalid. شوية تبعوا وياي، هاي مهمة. هذا صاحبنا شبيه، هذا صاحبنا هو مقصر، هاي خلوه في بالكم، هو مقصر، فمتعمد أو مرة متعمد ومرة بسبب تقصيره بالتعليم ما تلفظ فد كلمة بسورة الحمد، ما تلفظها بشكل صحيح، أو حول حرف من حروفها إلى حرف آخر، مثل تحويل حرف الضاد إلى ذال أو زاي، أو ما قرأ الحركات بشكل صحيح، أهمل قراءة الحركات. طبعا وهاي الإهمال يرجع إلى تقصيره بالتعلم. هو مقصر بالتعلم، يقدر يتعلم بس هو ما تعلم. فبالنتيجة قراءة هذه الكلمة أصبحت شنو؟ أصبحت غلط. من أصبحت غلط it will give another meaning. Just like when you recite الضالين and الضالين. Look, الضالين which means misled, misled. And الضالين, الضالين, الضالين means the people who stayed at the same place. Look, if you mispronounce it, and this mispronounce it because of your ignorant, or because of your does not learn, in this case your salah is invalid. يعني هذا لو نطق حرف بدل حرف أو حركة أو غير حركة بالنتيجة معنى الكلمة تغير، مثل ما قلنا الضالين، الضالين والضالين. الضالين ذول قاعدين مكانهم، والضالين هذول شنو هم؟ اللي يضل عن سواء السبيل، الذي يضل عن طريق الهداية. هذا بالتلفظ أنا لو متعلمهن أعرف الفرق وأقدر أتعلم، بس أنا غلست قلت يلا الدين سمح والعلم بحر والدين بحر. هاي الكلاوات اللي احنا نقنع نفسنا، للأسف نقنع نفسنا. يقول صلاتك باطلة. كم واحد من عندنا يعرف هذا الحكم؟ مسألة كون تسأل عليه، اسأل عن دينك حتى يقال إنك مجنون. Ask about your religion duties, your religion codes, until they said that you are crazy. For what? In order to know how to behave, how to act correctly. لا يجي يشوف صلاة جماعة قدامه ما يصلي وياهم جماعة. ليش؟ مو أنت على الأقل تضمن قراءة صحيحة للإمام. من يقول أنت قراءتك صحيح؟ At least when you see a congregational prayer, join it, in order to be sure that your salah is accepted. جهل. بالنتيجة, as a result, when they will take خذوه فغلوه ثم الجحيم صلوه في سلسلة ذرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه. شو يقول؟ يقول رب ارجعون. لا ماكو رجع، ماكو رجع، ماكو رجع. اسأل، عندك مجال تسأل. You should ask. It is for your. So his prayer is invalid. Issue number 1009. If a person has learned a word which he believes to be correct and recites it that way in a prayer, but comes to know later that he has been reciting it incorrectly, it is not necessary for him to offer the prayer again. I studied or I learned from a teacher, from a person who is responsible to teach me how to pray or how to recite Al-Fatiha. Then I recite this surah according to what I learned. I didn't recite it according to what I did in myself, my own. No, according to what I learned. Then after a while, I realize that this word is wrong in a pronunciation. يعني أنا إجيت وحضرت عند أستاذ اللي علي سويت، شوف لا قاصر ولا مقصر، لا قاصر، I'm not ignorant، ولا مقصر. I attend the class and they taught me how to pronounce this word in Surah Al-Fatiha, and I did pronounce it according to them. Then after a while, after many days, many weeks, many years, I realizes that it was wrong. So how about my salah? your salah is valid. Your previous salah is valid. Why? Because you are not muqassir. You studied, you learned, but the problem is not with you. The problem is with your teacher. Issue number 1010. If a person does not know the Fatiha as the Fatha and Kasra of a particular word, for example, he does not know whether a particular word is spelled with a sukoon or, this word is spelled with or with You know the difference between ha and ha. There is a big difference in Arabic. Then he must perform his duty in some way. Then he must perform his duty in some way. Like what? For example, he must learn it. He must learn it, study, or perform prayers in congregation. Or perform prayers in congregation. Or recite it in 2 or more ways so that he is certain that he has recited correctly. If he doesn't know, either to go and learn whether this is or ha or ha. If he cannot, he can attend the congregational prayer. If he cannot, he can recite it twice. Once with ha, once as ha, and the other recite as what? As ha. Definitely, he will what? He will pronounce it correctly. One of them is accepted. However, in such a case, his prayer is deemed to be valid only if that wrong sentence can be commonly considered as being from the Quran or as being a dhikr. However, in such case, his prayer is deemed to be valid only if that wrong sentence can be commonly considered as being from the Quran or as being a dhikr. So, when you accept this recitation will be accepted. If we listen to you, we say, yes, he is reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. In this case, it is accepted. But sometimes, some people, they recite it, but when you listen to them, you are not saying he is reciting Quran. Or even, look, the same thing with Quran, with reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, and with supplications. بالدعاء نفس الحكم ترى. The same حكم. بقراءة سورة الفاتحة and supplication. The same thing. He should recite it in a correct way. He should learn. He should attend congregational prayer. Otherwise, he should recite it in 2 ways. If there are only 2 ways to recite it. Otherwise, if he recited, when we listen to him, we said, yes, it is Quran. In this case, it is accepted. You understand this? يعني لما يقراها نقول ده يقرأ قرآن هذا اشتبه بهذه الحركة. مرات الاشتباه لا إرادي يصير. ما نعتبر يعني يجوز ما منتبه عليه هذا ما منتبه عليه. ما عندنا مشكلة. No problem. If he does not pay attention, he is not pronouncing deliberately It doesn't matter. His prayer is valid. Issue number 1011. The scholars of Tajweed. The scholars of Tajweed have said, what do they said? They said that if a word contains the letter waw and the letter before the waw has a dhamma, and the letter after the waw is a hamza, as in the word su, then the waw must be given a mad. Example, it is recitation. Its recitation must be prolonged. يعني القراءة مع تشبيه لازم يمدها. Similarly, if a word contains the letter alif and the letter before the alif has a fatha, and the letter after the alif is a hamza, as in the word ja, then the recitation of the alif must be prolonged. Ja, لاحظ, pay attention how to pronounce the alif. Ja. Furthermore, if a word contains the letter ya and the letter before ya has a kasra and the letter after the ya is a hamza, as in the word ji, then the ya must be pronounced with a mad, prolonged. And if after these letters waw, alif and ya there is a letter other than hamza that has a sakin, sukun, like it does not have a fatha, kasra or dhamma. It has a sukun, not a fatha, not kasra, not dhamma. Then again, these letters must be recited with a mad, with a prolonged. However, apparently, the validity of the qira'ah in such cases that does not depend on reciting such words with a mad and so on. The event that one does not follow the above rules, his prayer is still valid. يعني حتى لو الواحد ما تبع هذه القواعد بالقراءة لا زال الصلاة شنو بيها valid. However, هاي تنتبهون عليها. This is very important. In a case like ولا الضالين, where correctly pronouncing the tashahhud, the tajdeed, yes, the tajdeed in the alif is dependent of prolonging to some extent. The alif must be prolonged to that extent. اعتماد القراءة الصحيحة، ومعنى الكلمة الصحيح يعتمد على اليمن، على التجديد والمد هنا. لازم تذكر التجديد ولازم تذكر المد، وإلا قراءتك شو راح يكون؟ قراءة خاطئة، ومن ثم صلاتك باطلة. Is this understood؟ والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم.